Sleepy Hollow Season 4, Episode 2, In Plain Sight. Now, I actually like this episode a lot more than I did the season premiere. I thought this was a pretty good one because it wasn't the introductory episode anymore, so we are, at least like the tiniest bit familiar with the characters now. I feel like they got utilized a lot more, especially the two people in like the vault and stuff, so we got a little bit of them where they're trying to figure out who exactly Ichabod is, because pretty much all the new characters, it's like, oh, I'm a historian. And, it was like his original excuse from before. And so they're kind of doing that again, where he's like, we have these people that could easily be trusted. And it's TV, so of course at some point they're going to figure it out. Just like in this episode, Ichabod and Jenny realize that the cops, man, I hate these stupid things, they just keep beeping. But they realize that the agent's daughter is the new witness. And they do that pretty early on. I was like, okay, I thought that was going to be held off for a couple more episodes. I was actually pleasantly surprised when it starts off and they're doing like the dream sequence. And I'm kind of curious, because they don't touch on it too much. But he goes through like this whole experience, and they mentioned when they wake up, he was like, how long was I out? And Jenny's like, well, it's tomorrow now. So, it had been a while. But he woke up from his dream first, and she was still like in a trance. And I'm just kind of curious, like, what was she in a trance about? Like, it seemed like it was important. It was something that happened, and I'm curious if there was some role or something that she has in the future that they just didn't really talk about in this episode. So that was something I was curious about, because they were both in the same trance as she was doing it, and it just made me a little curious. Like, maybe there's something that she didn't really talk about, and it's something that'll actually end up being important. So I was a little curious about that, but I feel like the way they went about this episode was very cool. We have our main villain, Dreyfus. He's going through and he ends up getting this item from these witches. They end up turning on each other in half a second, because he's like, yeah, it's actually not, it has nothing to do with witches. We still don't know what it has something to do with, because the witches, when they realize that he's not lying, they instantly turn on their sister, and they kill her before like any answers are given. So we still don't know what like this witch stone is all about. It was just like, it's some stone that they were holding on to forever. And then it's just like, yeah, they killed her off, and then it was just like, alright, even by the end of the episode, we didn't really get an answer as to what this weapon did. The only thing that we learned about was the knife that they got, which is if you get cut once, it instantly kills you, even if you are a witch, which they demonstrate at the end of the episode. But the way it was all playing out, I really enjoyed. Like, I thought the pacing was good for this episode. Like I said, as far as utilizing the characters, I thought it was well done. I thought the villains, the actual witches, were pretty cool in this episode, where they had like their little chant like that. It's going to drive me insane. They normally don't both go off like that, but that's going to drive me nuts. But I like the way they used the witches and how they were killing people off. And it's like, if anybody lied, it was just like, alright, you're dead. And it was like, that was it. It was like, it didn't seem to make a lot of sense to me. They were just evil witches. But I still like that, because it was like they just went nuts. And then, we find out the glamour stuff where it's a spell to make people think that they're young and attractive when they're actually like creepy and gross looking. But I just love the way that whole thing played out. And then the team ends up having to go to the house, which they just happen to find the house. And so it's like, alright, well, we go in here, we do this, we find them, we basically suck out some of their magic from this random device that's within the house. And, that's all they have to do. Take the device out, weaken the witches, and then, it was a 50-50 shot, and then sadly the agent kind of screwed up by touching it. And then they almost all got themselves killed. But I love the way it played out. They beat them. Pretty cool visual effect too, when the clock like exploded and it was just like a shockwave, and it just evaporated the witch that they actually showed get hit by the wave. And I was like, that was actually a cool visual effect, and it shoots through the house. But it was cool. And Jenny and the agent, I really have to get the new characters' names down, but they take out the first witch, and like the agent just like shot the crap out of her. I was like, dang, she like took her down. I thought she would like slam her on the ground or something. She was like, nope, and she just pulled the trigger a couple times in her stomach. And I was like, alright, well, they're done. And Ichabod was able to fortunately save himself by shooting the grandfather clock. So everything worked out. And he decides to hold off on the information of telling the agent that her daughter is actually, the witness and everything like that. So instead of them holding off, Jenny and Ichabod knowing who the witness is, they're holding off on the other half of it, which is telling the rest of the characters. Because with there being 4 new characters, even though they, the vault is separate from the cop a little bit, like they've met, even though it's a bit separated right now, of course all of this is going to come together. They are going to be, the new team for the series, hopefully permanently, because, with the show's history, just characters just coming in and out, that sort of thing. So I hope that's not the case for this. But I just like the way it played out. I thought it was a fairly simple episode. It was, Ichabod and Jenny trying to figure out, how do we tell this woman that her daughter is the next witness? How do we deal with the fact that a very young girl is the next witness? Like, there's so many things that are entailed in that, of course. How in the world are we supposed to make that happen? So I'm actually excited to see where they take this and how they utilize this girl, because she has to be the one. If it's not Ichabod, it has to be this young girl that actually does it. So I am excited to see how to utilize this character, considering, the disadvantages that she's going to have as a part of this crazy supernatural war. But I thought it was really good. Of course, phenomenal ending, because the Headless Horseman is coming back. I was super excited. They have Dreyfus talk to like his right-hand man, who is like a demon or so. He's something. He had the yellow eyes at the end of this episode. Hard to say. I thought it was like maybe he can just use magic, but now I'm assuming he's like just a full-on demon. But I thought it was great. I was like, sweet. It was like, his companion or whatever. I was like, he's, and then of course it's like, once he gets here it'll be death and destruction. I was like, sweet. The Headless Horseman is coming back, and this dude is in the Mack truck. At first, I thought the Headless Horseman was going to be inside the Mack truck, which I thought would have been hilarious, but also kind of awesome. But it's a guy in the truck, and he's like, what the heck? What the heck is that? And it's the Headless Horseman riding down the road, with the axe in hand. And I was like, sweet. I can't wait to see that. I love how they utilize the Headless Horseman in this show. They stepped away from that after the first season. It kind of expanded to so many other, supernatural elements, which some were good, like the stuff they did with Katrina and, their son and everything. That stuff was great without the Headless Horseman. And other stuff wasn't as epic, where it was like, okay, well now it's just a bunch of other, lesser villains. It's like, I would love the Headless Horseman to come back, though, because he's super cool. So we're getting that, hopefully, in the actual next episode. I saw this one on Hulu, just like the premiere, so I don't know the promo for the next episode, but very excited for the Headless Horseman to come back, because he's always super cool. Curious how things are going to play out. They have a very odd history now. At this point, it's just very different. The reactions that they have for each other. It's like, we've, had history in the past. We've pseudo worked together. We fought each other, back and forth sort of thing. So I am curious how this is going to work. Jesus Christ. I'm taking all these batteries out. That's actually destroying me now. But I did enjoy this episode, and I'm very excited for them to bring back the Headless Horseman, and just to see where it goes. Like, with the Headless Horseman coming in, how much of an issue is he going to be for our main villain, and how long are they really going to keep him in? Because this season, or at least the first half of this, I'm not sure how far they're going to take this specific arc, but at this point the main focus is definitely, we need to get the next witness. And now that they know who the witness is, it's going to be, how do we train her for a supernatural battle, to save all of mankind, pretty much. So it'll be interesting to see how long they actually use the Headless Horseman, how he ends up being stopped, and where they send him off to this time once he is stopped. But how much is he going to be teamed up with the main villain? How much is he going to actually be like a third party that fights everybody? So there are a lot of questions there, but either way, I'm excited. Like I said, I actually think this was a really good episode. I liked it a lot more than I liked the premiere, which I thought was fine, but I actually just really enjoyed this, and it just felt very different, and it seemed like it was like, alright, you've been introduced, here you go. Here's just an episode, they're just moving it along, and I thought it went really well. So I actually love this episode. Of course, we'd love to know what you guys thought about it, so please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. And I actually want to know, what role do you guys think the Headless Horseman is going to play in this next episode? I assume he's going to show up in the next episode, even without seeing the promo, because he was at the end of this one. So I want to know what role you guys really think he's going to play. Is he going to team up with the villain? Is he going to be that third party that just, he's doing his own thing, he suddenly has some brand new mission? Is he just going straight after Ichabod, so that's why he happens to team up with the villains? We'd love to know your theories on what his portion of the story is going to be. And of course, we'd love to know what you guys thought about the episode in general, so please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.